Hello, coaches. My name is Jacob Pena, and today I'm going to be talking about an often overlooked but increasingly common issue known as exercise addiction. I'm going to be discussing the possible negative outcomes that can occur due to exercise addiction and how you, as a coach, can help prevent them in occurring in your athlete. So, first things first, what is exercise addiction? Exercise addiction is known as a psychological and physiological compulsion to exercise excessively. We're going to dive deeper into these issues, but these can be characterized by three different things: loss of control over exercise habits, continued activity despite injury or fatigue, or even prioritizing exercise over things like hanging out with friends or being social, putting in effort at your job, or even academic obligations, and making working out the number one priority. So, what are some foundational psychology principles that can kind of cause exercise addiction? So, first things first, we have behavioral reinforcement. So, when the athlete is receiving positive feedback from others on things like their body image or performance gains, this is when it becomes addictive because they're like, oh, they kind of crave that behavioral reinforcement. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. They don't want to stop the workload. Also, although behavioral reinforcement's very positive, it can also be dangerous in that aspect. Number two is cognitive dissonance. So when the athlete's self-worth becomes tied to their ability to exercise or perform, this is when it becomes dangerous because if, one day they're not on track of where they want to be, now their whole day's ruined, their whole week's ruined. That's when it becomes very, very unhealthy. Another thing as well is endorphin release. So when you kind of become addicted to that high that you get from the endorphins of exercising, then that's when it becomes an unhealthy habit. Yes, it's good to, love exercise, but let's say, you're chasing that high every single day. Now it's becoming very, very unhealthy. Here are some red flags for some coaches to take a look at. So first we got training multiple times per day despite exhaustion. Obviously, this isn't going to be well in terms of recovery for the athlete. Another thing as well is exercising while injured or sick. Being injured or sick are two valid reasons to take a day off and to just rest your body and recover. And if the athlete is still exercising despite this, then that is not very healthy. Another thing is withdrawal symptoms. You can get withdrawal from not exercising. Athletes that are addicted to exercise will tend to have symptoms of irritability and even anxiety. Even on rest days, guilt or depression can become a thing where they're like, man, like, what am I doing today? I'm falling off. I'm not doing enough work. They start feeling guilty. They start feeling depressed. What are some psychological risks and health consequences? So we got mental health risk and we got physical consequences. First things, obviously, like we touched on a bit, is anxiety, depression, and burnout. So these three kind of all tie in together where, let's be real here, if the athlete is addicted, they're kind of just digging their hole in terms of the road to a burnout. And once that burnout occurs, that's when the anxiety and the depression is going to hit because they're not doing as much as they want to do. So those are some mental health risks in terms of exercise addiction. So there's some physical consequences. Obviously, if you're working out every single day, we need to know the top three, the most important three things is recovery, diet, and intensity. If you're missing the recovery, our body is not going to play nice with us. So things like stress fractures can occur and different forms of tendinitis. How can we apply this to the real world? How do we apply our knowledge to help our athletes avoid exercise addiction? Obviously, there's things like screening and communication. Use open-ended questions like, how do you feel when you miss a workout? Getting that communication right with the athlete instead of like ridiculing them and being like, hey, you need to take a rest day. Be like, hey, how do you feel when you miss a workout? And actually getting to know your athlete and seeing why they feel like they need to work out every single day and why they actually feel when they're not working out. Another thing is programming. What I tend to do in my athletes, my personal athletes, is Instead of being like, putting 5 workout days, I'll put like 5 workout days, but I'll also add 2 rest days and kind of put it where I want the rest days. So I like going 2 days on, rest, 2 days on, rest, and then 1 day and then rest again. So something like that, you can play around with it in the programming, but implementing that rest day is kind of going to be like, hey, rest this day. It's going to, the program is like that for a reason. And if the athlete trusts you, they're going to be happy to take that rest day. Model healthy habits, prioritizing holistic wellness, not just performance in the sport that they are performing in. And then also knowing when to refer them to a sports psychologist or a counselor when it's, becoming a very dire issue with the exercise addiction. Here are some practical tools for coaches to use. We got 3 things here. We got journaling and mood tracking. The journaling and mood tracking helps the athletes understand how exercise affects their mental state. So being able to track their mood when they're not working out versus when they are, it kind of gives them like hey, maybe this isn't, healthy, that like when I'm not working out that I just feel completely depressed, that, maybe I've seen extreme cases where people, when they're not working out, when they take an rest day, they start getting suicidal thoughts. And that's something that like, hey, if the athlete can see that, that's kind of something, or if they can, self-assess that on themselves, that's when they can be like, okay, this isn't right. I got to really fix this issue. Another thing is wellness checks, meeting them one-on-one to discuss physical and emotional health and making sure that they're doing fine mentally and physically, of course. And then reframing rest, educate athletes that recovery is a vital part of performance, not a weakness. It's not going to hold you back. Recovery is not going to hold you back. Like I mentioned, it's the 3 things. Number 1, recovery. Number 2, diet. And number 3, intensity. Making sure that all 3 are working together. You can't have one missing out of the 3. Recovery is going to be very important in becoming the ultimate athlete. Here are some final thoughts. As coaches, we're not just building athletes here. We're building the future people of our society. So enforcing good habits now is going to be very integral when, they're older in life. And let's say, they're addicted to exercise now. Let's be real here. When we're 80 years old, we're not going to be able to use the same intensity that we're doing at 20 years old. So the moment that they can't, they start seeing themselves slow down, who's to say they're not going to even be more depressed? Let's say they break a leg, enforcing good habits now, being like, hey, yes, your sport's very important to you. Yes, being better, becoming better is very important to you, but also just making sure that it's not the end of the world if we take a day off. So helping them build good habits, not just for their sport, but when they enter the world as a societal individual. And knowing the signs of an exercise addiction can honestly just help you protect your athlete's long-term health and performance.